Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. Here there's a bunch of mega fans of Brandon Sanderson bringing you the news, discussion, and of course, a whole lot of opinions on Brandon's work. Joining me today is Ian.
Hey, I'm WeiryWriter.
And also joining me is David.
And I am Windrunner on the forums.
You
and
sound
on
so
Discord.
excited. You sound so
I'm always
excited.
Because
Yes.
Stormlight 4 is in 2021, so I just gotta keep thinking about that every day. Other than that,
Oh, is that the news? Is that the news that it's
I don't know if that's
2021?
actually true. That's just
Oh,
what
okay.
I'm assuming at this point.
Well, I mean, yes. When Brandon gives you a range on when stuff comes out, choose the top upper one. Because
He's good, but he's not a magician.
Words of Radiance will be in 2013, guys. 2013. And Oathbringer in 2016. Anyway, I'm Chaos, and today we're very excited to talk to you about White Sand Volume 2, aka, in my opinion, White Sand, Mo Assassins, Mo Political Intrigue. That's what this one's about. It's accurate. It's accurate.
You know, it is.
That's what this one's about.
Yeah. If I had a phrase that I could come up with right now, I think it would be White Sand Volume 2. Well, it's not worse. And that's what I've got. That was my general reaction.
It's true. It isn't immensely worse. That's true. It's true. I agree. Let's talk about our general impressions of White Sand Volume 2. There's not really much news this week in particular. So we'll just get right into White Sand.
Yeah. Of course, we're recording this, and then right before this gets posted, there's going to be some bombshell news that we have no idea about.
No, oh, that's true. That is true. Ian, what did you think of this one?
I think that from a quality standpoint, it was an improvement from the first one. From a story standpoint, it's the middle third of a Brandon Sanderson book. It doesn't have the interesting beginning, and it doesn't have the exciting ending. It's just the stuff
beginning
that's
was so
important,
interesting too.
but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Brandon very specifically will never split a Stormlight book because it's you get all of the horrible stuff without any of the payoff, and yet that's exactly what he did
The thing is,
here.
though, with something like Words of Radiance and Oathbringer, if you split it into thirds, it actually would be reasonable, you know?
Once you started structuring it like a trilogy, yeah.
Yeah, right.
This is Well of
big
Ascension,
climax.
kind of. Except
It's
no
the bad
conclusion.
parts.
Yeah.
It's the bad part. It's the middle of Well of Ascension. Right, exactly. David, what did you think?
I loved it. No, it was
turned around. It all turned around for you.
Yeah, I'm a big fan now. No, I think that there were some good things. I enjoyed, I think, ultimately the art style change that we'll discuss later. I'm still not really enjoying the characters or feeling like I'm authentically understanding the decisions they're making or the way the plot's moving, which I felt like I understood better. And
that's true.
It feels very much like somehow they went back a draft from the White Sand prose that I read to a previous draft where it was not quite as good.
Wow.
That's kind of
burns. Holy crap.
I didn't mean for that to be as mean as it sounded, but I'm just not a huge fan of it.
I'm just now imagining the artists and the people from Dynamite listening to this podcast and just seeing these sick burns.
If you're listening, I'm sorry.
Sunburn.
Yeah.
Hire us. We will be good consultants to make it better.
You can fix it in the third volume. It'll be fine. There's still enough time.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't like White Sand prose. Don't
hire Eric.
Yeah.
Hire up.
Look, we're gonna get into it, and
prose.
it's gonna suck. I'm gonna have the exact same complaints about it a year and a half later when we talk about White Sand Volume 3. But no, I'm with you, David. We didn't really have we didn't have too much Kenton inner monologue, which really made you understand what he was thinking, which I kind of liked personally.
Yeah.
Because here there are just things where I said a thing, then I'm making a different decision, and then I'm saying this other thing. And John Akron and Cinder also we know who they are. We know what they look like. I think it's consistent in this one, but no character development whatsoever. They're just there.
At one point, someone said John Akron's name.
And someone said Cinder's name. I think it was once.
Yeah.
I think it was once. It was very exciting. So, yeah. We do see Chris doing science, though, so that was nice.
Big plus.
I mean, it did look cool.
No, I genuinely enjoyed it. I think just the characterization is pretty weak right now. Like,
Yeah,
I couldn't describe a character to you from this very well.
Not really. My opinions, this really not a lot was important here. Like, I don't know.
I think it's important for the ending to have the impact. It's a lot of build up, not a lot of
payoff.
Resolution.
Payoff.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, but on White Sand Prose, and we will talk about White Sand Prose spoilers just up through Volume 2. We're not going to spoil the ending. We do know the ending, and I don't think it's going to change very much, judging by this. I just had issues with White Sand Prose, and I don't think any of them are fixed. There's nothing, none of my plot issues with this entire story are fixed at all. And I just think the story's much more interesting actually in the desert, rather than we're in the city doing stuff. Like, wow. Great.
See,
I guess.
I don't think
the desert is the desert.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't necessarily say that your issues with the prose are actually issues and are more just things you don't like.
We're going to talk about it in White Sand Volume 3, and I'm just going to go on a 30-minute diatribe on what I know is coming. And I know it is, and I'm going to go back to White Sand Volume 2, and I'm going to be furious, because there is a part, and I just know it's just a panel in this is going to be a complete waste of time when we get to Volume 3. Just, like, totally worthless. Gah! Anyway, cool. But, I mean, it wasn't like slow. It was a reasonably speedy read. I think if you read like all three of them all in a row, like you wouldn't be like super upset. But
I think it will be a lot like Wheel of Time, where towards the later books, as they were coming out, people complained a lot because like, I waited 3 years for this and nothing happens. But like if you read them now in sequence, there's no big deal. It's like
sure.
It's much better.
Yeah.
As we said in our Volume 1 podcast, the real thing is going to be if we have to wait a year and a half for Volume 3, then that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, because I feel like expectations / like excitement was super low, and like
Super
as of
low.
recording this, like it has 9 ratings on Amazon. Yeah.
Ooh, ow.
And, yeah, it's 9, but it's at a 3.1 there, and like a 3.8 on Goodreads. So like it's not really cracking Brandon's top 5.
Yeah. See,
It also wasn't advertised particularly well.
Yeah.
no,
because
not at all.
Amazon posted erroneously. They posted a release date for like last July, which
That's right. They
was
did do
never
that.
confirmed. But
No.
having Amazon keep pushing it back because they just made up a date really hurt things.
I like the
Yeah.
part where they pushed it back and they thought, you know what would be the best time for this thing that we don't know when it's released? The day of Oathbringer. Brilliant. Just a great plan. Really astute, Amazon. You're on it.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. I know
Well-
we just sound so excited. But
Do we want to discuss the cover first?
yes, David, you wanted to discuss the
Yeah.
cover.
I think the cover looks silly. I was not a huge fan of the first cover because, as I've said previously, it looks like the dark side or spirits are just looking down on Kenton fighting, but at least something was happening. You know, like there was some sort of motion going on the screen.
True.
This looks like Kenton is in some sort of like pop band that doesn't like each other very much. Like they're all looking different directions and like not smiling.
Yeah.
Like
It was also interesting that they included Dryle, who shows up for a grand total of 2 pages.
I personally love seeing these characters literally just to remind us that they're there. Well, Dryle, we did get an actual scene. With Dryle that
I didn't even register that's who that was until right now. I'm just like, oh, another Sand Mage. I wonder who he is.
Well, that was the problem in Volume 1. We didn't know who Dryle was for half of it until they're at the DM. I'm like, oh, that's supposed to be Dryle. Okay.
Like, I would have liked to see Delius in place of Dryle there, because Delius has a much larger role in Volume 2.
And he's a character that has character traits that you understand. And he's funny and amusing. And
a pirate.
A European pirate. So that's one of the issues that we'll rapidly see, that the tech level makes no sense in Lysand. Nothing makes sense here. There's a horse. I don't know if you guys noticed that there was a horse. It's not like we traveled the Kurla on things that are not horses, but apparently they have horses and carriages, and also more lampshades and a ceiling fan. No radios, though. That's only in the desert when they're in, doing their ceremony for the Sand
in
Maidens.
a tent.
I mean, we gotta keep that clear here. The radio's only for special occasions.
Yeah. And the other thing that I thought was a little silly was just the part names. And I honestly, I bear no ill will towards whoever had to come up with these, because I would not have been able to do a better job. But sometimes I'm just like,
true.
My Assassins. What? Like, that's the chapter 2. My Assassins. They don't belong to Kenton. Like, it just sounds odd.
All the other ones.
What did they catch? I like this one. He fights the deep sand
That
lane.
one was the hunt. Yeah, right. They caught the Carrack. And there was
they didn't catch it. They killed it.
Yeah, it's a.
I have never heard someone go hunting and been like, guess what I caught yesterday? Look at this deer.
Oh, all right. Okay. Good point.
Yeah. So
considering we're in hunting central, David, like our 2 states,
I know,
very in the hunting in particular.
Yeah. A huge passion of mine.
I like the chapter titled Party Politics, which also is a story mission in Guild Wars 2. Great.
Look at that.
Like, very great.
Eric's back on board.
No, I'm not.
All right.
And the end is chapter 6, About Turn.
I think I get that one. It's him helping people as a Sandmaster. I think that's what they're trying to do. That one makes sense.
There's some meaning. There is some meaning. All right. So let's dive into chapter 1. We're gonna go through the summary, and then we'll talk about some bullet points of discussion that we have. And so chapter 1, we start right where volume 1 ended, and volume 1 ended with Kenton showing off his sand mastery to Chris, and Chris is very upset about it in this, and they're talking about that, and Chris is really pissed off for like 3 chapters about it. 2 chapters at least. That Kenton lied, and I don't know, sure. Then Ice informs Kenton that she's to be his protector, which goes super great because Ice does not hide the fact that she hates him and all Sandmasters. And Kenton does realize that he should be more respectful and not be overly antagonistic towards Ice.
What a mature decision.
Then we get Kenton and Eric. I'm sorry, I can't. That's not how my name's spelled. I'm not going to pronounce it that way. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry. They're discussing the DM's debt because, as we discussed last time, which was not clear in Volume 1 but very clear here, Sandmasters just take crap because they can just steal stuff, but everyone else keeps records of what they take, and they owe,
because theoretically they're supposed to pay it back eventually. They just never have.
I wonder why no one ever got discouraged. Just like, why do we bother tallying this up? Or maybe just for like their losses, I suppose. But
I mean, you could think of it as the only act of rebellion and annoyance that you have. It's like, well, someday we'll get them back in one of these centuries. I wonder if they adjust it for inflation because, as we know, we have horse carriages, so sure, they could have a stock exchange. Who the crap knows?
That's the opening scene of Volume 3, actually, is them in the Lost End and stock exchange.
That's
trying
not a
to
thing,
make money in the stock market.
I'm just saying the tech level makes no sense. But there is a line where Arik mentions autonomy again in bold, which I don't know. Did you guys like that?
I do not.
Like, it just feels like it's beaten over the head for me. But
Yeah.
maybe that's because we're just
ambivalent.
They're taking away your autonomy from all sides. Like, okay, sure, we get it.
Yeah.
It's a shard here. Cool.
I mean, I feel like it's not like in Mistborn they're always going, we have to preserve it,
Right. It's a little tacky, right?
There's a little more in Stormlight, but honor plays a much heavier role. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And so they have this debt, and it's 700,000 lac, whatever. And then coming out of Volume 1, Kenton has to meet all the profession heads. And that is what this is about. We're going to meet all the profession heads. It's going to be just a rolling adventure of talking with the profession heads. Some of the profession heads are interesting. There are some good parts, but yep, that's what we're doing in this book. So hope you like that. And
I do.
Okay, cool. But we start with Kenton meeting Delius, who is, in fact, really good.
Yes.
And for some reason, looks like a pirate.
Yeah. Delius is definitely my favorite character in White Sand.
Yeah. He's
for
the
reasons
Lord Admiral.
You will eventually find out in part 3.
Mm-hmm.
I love how there's a Lord Admiral when most of the continent's a desert, so it's great. It really makes sense.
Because they have the one river in all of the continent. This is very important. This is not a big deal.
No, I know, but sorry, when I think of admirals, I don't think of, hey, we have our one river.
Yeah.
Eric wishes Taldain didn't exist.
Yeah.
I get it.
Helm is the profession for trade over water.
Yeah.
What else are you going to call that profession head?
All right, fine.
This is not an issue.
Fine. But for some reason, he looks like a pirate, and when we're there, Delius's chambers, it looks like we're in Britain. For some reason, sure, why not? We're in a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, where that East India Trading Company guy, oh yes, we're
Lord Cutler Beckett.
Yeah, right.
Has the greatest death scene ever.
I don't understand the Lysandan culture at all. I have no understanding of what this is supposed to be.
Remember rightly, I feel like the place that Delius actually lives has a different aesthetic, which is mentioned in the book, that the style there is slightly different, and maybe they're trying to bring that out in his chambers, but that's my only thought here.
It just brings me out when it looks so not
different. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like another world. The best part about Brandon's works is we're moving to another world and it feels different and there's a different aesthetic. But no, we're not in the desert. We're in a city with horses and fans and lampshades, and we're in Mistborn Era 2. Sure, why not? But in the desert. It's in the desert this time. It's very different. But I don't know. Sure. But Delius is very fun.
I think your issues are more personal and less actual issues with the book.
No, I was
the technology
reading,
one is real.
The technology one, yeah, but the aesthetic, that's
it's just hard for me to wrap my head around. Oh, the Darksiders were very technologically advanced. We have guns and things, and wow, look how cool we are. When it's oh no, these guys also feel exactly European. Cool. Except for Ice's blow dart weapon thing, the air-powered thing.
The Zinkal.
Yeah, there's not a great deal of things in Lasand that's like, yeah, I'm really getting into this culture. Because when the Darksiders seem European, I don't know. That's what I thought it was supposed to be, so it just looks incongruous with what I expected this to be. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Again,
Delius
expectations.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess my expectations are colored from Chris just coming in, and those early Chris viewpoints are like, these people who aren't very technologically advanced. That was her whole perspective. And so it's just very weird that it's very European pirates. And so, but Delius is funny. He's really drunk all the time, doesn't care about anything. He'll vote opposite of the Lord Merchant, which is good. Lord Merchant's a jerk anyway, as we'll see. And Delius is really fun. Then Kenton meets with the Lord Artist, and Chris basically decides, because she needs Sandmasters to fight on Darkseid due to the dynasty and stuff, I guess she has to help save the DM, and so she's gonna be Kenton's person who's a little more tactful to help with negotiations, which is good because she's a lot better at it than Kenton is.
I'm surprised she hasn't asked like anything about like a Sandmaster's like martial capabilities, because she hasn't really seen him do anything aside from pick people up.
Really
and set
true.
them down.
That is really important, because we do see martial capabilities later, but Chris isn't there for that. She doesn't even know what they do or how they work at all.
And like Kenton kind of doesn't right at this point either. Like he doesn't really know how to fight a Sandmaster even. Well, I guess he can fight regular people. That's fair. He knows how to do that.
Yeah. We'll see that later. But
well, also from Chris's perspective, it doesn't matter that she doesn't know their martial capabilities. Like, if they're gone, like, she'll never know. So she has to like make sure they persist.
I guess
I would just like have confirmed that they were able to fight before I started like really digging myself in. You know,
I mean, it's a good point. Chris's plan is not well fleshed out here. But I mean, it does make sense for her to help in that context. We meet the Lord Artist there, and they come up with a plan to repay their debts. It's very fun and exciting. But I mean, we get Chris and Kenton developments. That's nice. Then we learn that the Lord General, Lord Regent, sure.
I said Rogent, but yeah,
sure. Is out in the deep sands, and so Kenton is going to go there. And then Kenton's gonna do research to determine who the DM owes lots of other money, because the Lord Artist only is owed like 150,000 lac or something.
And then the Lord Farmer
Pocket
is
change.
like the other 50,000.
Yeah. Do we see the Lord Farmer?
No, not yet.
Okay.
He's not a big part of this story.
Okay, that's fine.
No.
That's fine. I guess that happened off screen. And so that's what happens in chapter 1. There are some nice improvements in style.
Yeah, like one thing I did, it was like a nice subtle thing, but if you look carefully at pages where there are multiple languages being spoken, these speech bubbles are like tinted slightly.
Yeah.
Based on what language they were speaking.
I guess they're speaking Lasandon.
Lasandon and Dynastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I did enjoy that too, and it's nice that the Dynastic is blue, because apparently Darksiders only wear blue, so great, cool.
Wait, no, Chris wears red.
Oh, once.
She does wear red.
But for the
On
most part,
Dayside.
for the most part, and I guess John Akron or Cinder wears orange in chapter 6 too, so right at the very end.
Either or.
One of the two. I know it if I see him, which one it is, but can't remember right now. And there's kind of an interesting part where Delius offers Kenton a drink because Delius is drunk, and is trying to show that he doesn't care, basically. And Kenton refuses booze because it does strange things, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
What? Do you think it's just like the dehydration? I don't know. That's kind of
I think so. That's probably because, hey, it's liquid. Like, this should hydrate me, but it's alcohol, so it actually dehydrates me.
Yeah,
So it's like,
that is interesting because like in the other magics we've seen, like typically like alcohol gets like purged, like when it's
Mhm.
used by other people, and like it's not like they're getting invested like themselves very much in any way, but like I don't really know what else it could be,
Well, the generic alcohol being purged is more from like basic healing abilities that
Yeah.
come like
counteracting
Starlight.
poison.
Mhm. I mean, so that's like the only interaction I've seen with magic and alcohol, and that clearly doesn't apply in this case.
Yeah,
so I don't really know.
I think it's just the dehydration, really.
Yeah.
That I mean, maybe it'd do something weird, but
Yeah.
I
think
it might be
it's
harder to control the ribbons,
Possibly, yeah. But I think it's specifically relating to the fact that your personal water hydration levels is very important for this.
Mhm.
They just had that one drunk Sandmaster at one point, and
He got weird.
and he got weird. He overmastered real quick. There.
And then another thing I liked is that with the graphic novel, like, we don't really have to adhere as strictly to viewpoint, because there's
Yeah.
a couple scenes that of like Delius that if we never would have seen from Kenton's
Mhm.
perspective, like if we were in third person limited, like the book.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you do get to very easily do a pan out with seeing a character who's not a viewpoint character, just,
Mhm.
straight up. So yeah, that's nice. There was a part where Delius was looking very sinister, but maybe that was later. I forget where, but
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's the implication there, is that there's more to Delius than
yeah, sure.
you might otherwise suspect.
Then the
Yes.
drunken fool, yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing that kind of annoyed me was that when Kenton was showing off his Sandmastery to Chris, they all like had this embrace, and I was like, oh my god, they should not romance. I would kind of be upset if they romanced.
Did you not get that indication from the pros? Because that was always my understanding, is that they were
Yeah,
getting
they were
they were
Yes.
heading towards a couple. Like,
I mean, I don't get that from Chris in this at all.
no, not from this. No,
At this point, no, because
Okay.
she's still
Yeah.
hung up on her fiance.
kind
Yeah,
of, but she
right.
also believes he's dead. Like,
Yeah,
much more
but-
strongly than she did in the pros.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. In the pros, she was like, maybe he'll be alive.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, that'll be more in chapter 2. But
Yeah.
yeah,
You're
I
totally
think-
right, though.
I think that they are really. I don't know. I always thought that they were. It's the trope where like the two people hate each other, they end up together, which I do not like very much. So I'm not really.
particularly.
Also, main male character, main female character.
Yeah.
That's the trope that they'll end up
I
together.
guess that's what we'll get, I guess. But wouldn't that be crazy if Kenton just like shows up in a random book as a world hopper? Like, hey, I'm Chris's husband. What's up?
Yeah, I don't do much.
Yeah.
I can't master
There is a
sand 'cause
square named Kenton Square in Era 1 Luthadel.
I
There is,
don't
yeah.
think that is a reference to Kenton from White Sand. But you know what? Maybe. That's possible.
I can see Brandon repurposing it a little bit, or just like a little like wink at it.
I mean, I guess Kenton is a pretty European name, so it makes sense that they're European. So sure, why not? Oh, this was the part where Kenton was gonna be nicer to Ice, and Kenton says something mean, and then immediately the next page comes back down and apologizes and thinks he should do better. Which I don't know. I found that annoying.
I think Dave and I both like this. It's basically like he's doing the thing he always does,
Yeah,
which he always did when like he wasn't an important person, like he wasn't in charge.
yeah,
but, like,
impulsive
now
and
that
dumb.
he-
Yeah,
He was
Sure.
now that he's in a position of power, like he does his instinctual thing and then like realizes like, no, I can't do this. Like I have to be better. So he goes back, apologizes,
Sure.
and tries to be better.
sure.
Yeah, I think this is like the flip side of the coin on having. Like, you don't have to adhere strictly to viewpoint, but you also don't get the viewpoint. So you don't
Right,
see Kenton
exactly.
like coming to that realization. You see Kenton going, I don't like that tract. And then, man, I was mean to her. And then he just turns around and leaves. Like,
Like I
you know,
want to see
it didn't
like,
feel as
exactly what-
authentic.
Yeah, like I want to read it because Eric's like, who's that? Kenton, no one of importance. Kenton, I just did what Trial would do. Shot that woman down because of what she represents. And you know what? That's not going to be me anymore. And then he goes back and apologizes.
But that's an internal monologue thing he should have. He shouldn't. He's just explaining his thought process and then walking back. Like
that is a
it feels
hard 180 there in that one dialogue bubble. Like, it didn't really. It felt to me when he's coming back, he wasn't feel remorseful. Like, I did what, I gave what she deserved, and that's what Trial would do, so I should come back down. Like, that is a really big 180, really fast.
I like the concept. I just feel like it was awkward him like explaining his rationale out loud, which he kind of had to do almost.
Sure. But they did this in Volume 1, where they had him do plenty of internal monologues. It's not like that's not a thing they can do.
But it's specific because Eric was talking to him about it. So, like, of course he spoke it out loud. Like,
I mean, I don't have an issue with him speaking out loud. I just think it's a fast 180, and everything just feels fast, and you don't really get a lot of the character motivation in a lot of this. So when you have, I feel like it's what Way of Kings would have been without Adolin, because as we know, Dalinar had issues as a character when he thought he was insane, and he basically put all the thoughts of Dalinar being insane into Adolin. So Adolin was voicing that insanity angle, and Dalinar felt stronger because of it. And I don't know, it makes sense that Kenton would do all these things, but it's just really fast. I don't know.
I guess that's fair.
I don't really understand the difference between Daysider and Darksider technology level when their clothing looks pretty similar, and you'd expect there is cultural intersection, but I would still feel like they wouldn't, I don't know, they wouldn't wear such similar styled clothes.
Yeah, and I feel like one of the themes of the prose was kind of that, like, Chris looked at their culture and dismissed it, when in actuality their technology had progressed differently, and to call another group primitive was not something that made sense. And they've kind of, that does not seem to exist as much in this, which makes me sad, because I did enjoy her whole, like, realization coming through. That's the whole
concept of why the expedition to Dayside is cool, because that's cool to see the intersection of cultures, and they just don't feel that different at all, really. They only feel different when we're in the desert, but in the city, they just really don't feel very different to me.
I'm surprised I like the desert so much, because I feel like they're walking around in the sand. Like, I don't see the desert as a very, like, I don't imagine a lot happening there.
Sure, but it's more that it's different rather than, hey, this is another Brandon Sanderson book where we're in the city. How different is the city going to be? Not very, really.
Brandon does love his urban settings.
I know he does. But I just feel like the differences of the Darksider and Dayside culture feel minimal, especially when everyone seems to wear European clothing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's my issue with it. Someone should probably not be a European in this clash of cultures thing, and the Kirstians don't count because we don't see too much of them.
Yeah, well, I think a possible explanation is that Lossandin is heavily influenced by Darksiders. It does have a large Darkside population.
Sure.
So it makes sense for, like, there to be some similarities, whereas the Kirstians, who are more distinct and more alternatively technologically advanced from the dark side, are more distinct.
I feel like they should have said that or drawn attention to it in some way if that was the case, because that's like a reasonable viewpoint, but they should have been like, oh man, I didn't realize how much culture mixing was, like, that's something that Chris would remark upon.
Because Chris was really surprised, and the Darksiders seemed pretty secluded. I mean, that's just their center. I mean, obviously people marry Darksiders because Kenton's dad did, so it makes sense, but especially given that stuff in the prose, I don't know. Because the whole, they're so primitive over here. Like, I don't know. That was a cool...
But has Chris actually said, "Oh, they're so primitive here"?
No, they haven't.
Novel?
No, they haven't.
Okay,
that's true.
then.
That's true.
I
know.
She made some reference to them being in, like, maybe I'm wrong. I thought that she made some reference to them being in the Sword Age in this, but I could be misremembering.
No, definitely not in Volume 2.
No, I meant Volume 1.
I don't.
But I have
Sword Age.
conflated the two in my head quite heavily, so it's possible. That's
I don't think
nonsense.
she said that explicitly.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not that I recall.
But I don't know. Yeah. It's not explored particularly well. But then we get to Chapter 2, My Assassins. Which, now that you mention it, I didn't really have an issue with it at the time. But sure, I guess it does seem a little weird of a title. But he's attacked by Kirstian assassins. And they have stuff made of Turkin, which is impervious to sand mastery.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's specifically like there are certain sandlings that are impervious, and they've found a way to derive that whatever makes them impervious to sand mastery and apply it to other stuff.
Yeah, at least in this part, it seemed like the armor, like maybe the carapace was made of it, but then later we see that there's like an oil too.
Well, I think they dissolve it down and reform it. It was my understanding, but I could be incorrect.
I mean, we didn't really quite get that here, but
that might have been from the pros too.
Well, I think that's also Kenton has no idea what's going on with these. It's just like, I can't affect them with sword mastery. No, it's Turkin.
Right. Yes, that's what he does. Yes, exactly.
He doesn't really understand what's going on. So
no,
it's
he just knows
clear.
it's Turkin. I guess like the sand would just turn to black if they touched it. Is that
I believe
that's how it's supposed to work.
We did get some black sand in this.
Yes, we did.
But it's still pretty weak in my opinion. Like,
I just have trouble telling what's happening when like the sand turns black. I'm like, I can see like black stuff on the screen, but I'm like, I don't see.
It's not obvious if we didn't know that the sand was black that it's supposed to turn black. And later they mention the sand turns black, which is, I'm glad they mentioned that. But that really, wasn't super obvious.
I recall like in this scene too, like especially it seemed like a lot of the sand mastery, and maybe later as well, just like I couldn't tell what was happening. It's just like a lot of glowing around Kenton while he was like standing there, like an explosion of light, and then you'd be like, oh, he got him.
There's like in this art style, there's like what looks like flies around him as he's glowing, and I'm not sure what that's supposed to represent artistically. Like, it looks like a bunch of flies flying near
I think
him.
it's like either sparkles or like bits of sand floating around him.
Did you forget the sand flies from the pros version? No.
Sure. Look, put more weird stuff that would be on Nayside that wouldn't be European. I'd be cool with that. I'd be super cool with that. Sorry. Before we talk about the assassins, we do need to mention that there is a ceiling fan in the Lord Mastral's office. Because, it gets hot in the desert. I mean, it makes sense. We got to have a ceiling fan. What's it fueled by? Electricity that we haven't seen? Sure, why not?
Maybe Sandmaster power technology. Like, who knows? Maybe they figured it out.
There's just
and he's just spinning it all day long with like a ribbon of sand.
No. Below
That's
the DM,
entirely possible.
Below the DM, they have like a giant wheel, and you push on it with sand mastery to fuel the turbine. Easy.
That's why Kenton doesn't want to be a dim fan. That's all they do. They just push the sand to make the ceiling fan spin.
So then, Ice comes in, fights the assassins with Kenton, and then they defeat the assassins. We realize they're from Kirstia, and the Akar is trying to kill them, basically. But you can only ascend 8 assassins a day. Sure. 8
assassins every other day.
Oh, every other day. Yes.
So you get a day off, it's nice.
Yeah.
Hang out, chill.
Yeah, right. And Ice doesn't like Kenton. We see Aloran return, who had a little bit of screen time in Volume 1, one of the other Sandmasters.
He wasn't a Mastral, but like he was high up in the hierarchy.
Yeah, he wasn't.
He helped
low
run
ranked.
it.
Yeah,
But he's like Blue Fingers almost. Like
Yeah.
he
Sure,
runs
oh,
things,
yeah.
but he's not super important.
Chris meets with the lady judge, who recommends that she speak to Nilto, and then Chris goes to Nilto, who will not help the DM, but gives her Givalden's belongings, a ring and a pistol. And then we end the chapter with John Akron bringing doubts to Chris about Bayon, which kind of came out of nowhere, really. But, I mean...
This singular piece of foreshadowing they decided to throw in there for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we got here. In addition, we get more lampshades as well. Generally. Still not understanding the tech level or electricity. Cool. One thing that was really weird to me is that I thought in Volume 1, Darksiders were swearing by Shella.
I
But then
kind of did too.
Kenton was swearing by Shella. Lots of people swear by Shella in this. And so I'm just
Really?
confused. Yes, that happens
Okay.
many times. Kenton mentions Shella when the assassins are attacking, and I felt that to be very incongruous.
Which, with Kenton, there's
Yeah,
like he is half
true.
Darksider. He could have gotten that from his mother. But if
True.
there are other Daysiders
There
doing
were.
it
It was mentioned a few times, I think, which
Okay.
felt weird because you'd mentioned the Sand Lord instead, right? Which Kenton
Yeah, it's
did in Volume 1.
Yeah,
He
it's only
definitely did
Chris
that.
in the prose who says Shella or the Darksiders. That's their thing. I don't see any instances of Kenton saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so that's interesting.
weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that is kind of odd. Let's see, other things. Did anyone else think that, and I didn't mention this last time because he looks the same, that Nilto is kind of a weird looking character design because he just looks like an injured Tuscan Raider to me. Like,
He looks like a
I
mummy.
know he's supposed to be like horrifying, but he's just like so wrapped up that like I'm just like, what is this guy? Like
Looks
he's
like a
kind of
mummy.
gross to. He's kind of
Yeah,
gross. Yeah, he looks like a mummy.
Yeah, it's not clear that he's supposed to be like horrifically like injured.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's pretty clear you wouldn't just wrap yourself up as a mummy if you think you
True.
weren't injured, right? Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that that's an
Mhm.
issue, but
It's like the lamest like secret identity, like, you know, Superman guy. He just wraps himself up in cloth every time when he's gonna go beat a Lord Beggar and help people.
it's like changing into a Spider-Man suit, but like I have to wrap myself in my mummy garb. No,
On a budget, you know.
On a budget. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And the other thing that I kind of was bummed out about with this chapter was like the revelation of Gavin or Givalden's death felt like it kind of lacked like a punch to me because Chris went the whole book going, I think he's dead. And then she like someone comes to her and says, he's dead. Here's the proof. And she goes,
Oh, no punch.
yeah,
at all.
he's dead.
Yeah,
like-
there's no I can understand a little bit of grieving, and she does like attempt to grieve a little bit, but she
Mhm.
also says, "Oh, I don't have time to grieve."
Mhm.
But yeah, I felt no emotional like attachment. Like, oh,
Yeah,
he's
Yeah,
actually
it's
dead
like
and
if
cool.
there had been a little bit more doubt on her part, I think it would have packed more punch like it did in the prose.
Yeah. And that
It
was
did pack more punch in the prose.
well, and that was the thing with the prose too, is like her plan makes more sense if she's coming here for Gavalden and goes, oh man, those Sandmasters he was looking for, those are actually real. I should like look into that. But her primary reason was to find him. And now her reason is to find the Sandmasters because she thinks he's dead. And it makes less sense because you're like, you also followed him to look for the magicians that no one believed in. You know, she felt like a more reasonable person in
Okay.
the prose version to me.
I didn't really have a problem with her plan here, but it does kind of beg the question how she knew. I guess she just assumed that he was dead.
She kind of had in the prose too, where she's like, if he hasn't come back by now, like it's not looking good. But she
Right,
she had hope that he was still around
in the
somewhere.
graphic novel. It's less clear why
Yeah.
how she would even know, and just assuming that he's dead, which seems a bit extreme. Like maybe he couldn't rent a boat, I don't know, to get back to Darkseid. I don't know.
Got picked up by the Dynasty that patrols with the blockades, I don't know. Those aren't real, maybe, though. They were told there were blockades, but they didn't see any, so they were wondering if that was all just a dynastic lie.
Okay.
That's all from the pros still.
Okay. All right.
All the cool stuff is in the pros.
Yeah, but
A secondary motto for White Sand Volume 2.
yeah, because as far as like Ellis, wherever Chris is from, is concerned, like there hasn't been contact between Dayside and Darkseid for centuries.
Right.
But Dayside is like, oh yeah, let's like, there's tons of contact. Like, look, there's an entire quarter of Darksiders over here.
Yeah. We're sick of you guys,
It also feels like, considering they do have a Lord Admiral and definitely have ships, it does make sense that there would be more Darksiders in Lasand. That does make sense. Maybe in other Dayside nations, there would be a lot less of it. Right?
Yeah, well, and Kurstians don't like travel over water, if I recall correctly, or at least goods that travel over water. So that might be another thing that is holding back a reciprocal stream of Daysiders.
It feels like
going to Darkseid.
Lasand's this really weird melting pot of lots of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they've got their own culture and the Kurstian culture and the Darkseid culture kind of intersecting here.
And like they mention other nations, but I mean, we don't like get a lot of that.
Yeah,
like
there's
Nor
the Rim
Talon.
Kingdoms.
Yeah.
But like there's a lot of Kurstians in governmental positions in Lasand. Like with
I don't think they're
eyes.
necessarily Kurstian. They're
Kureen.
Yeah, they're Kureen.
Yeah, they're Korean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of they should have had different letters to start with because that confuses me.
Well, I mean, that's
Yeah,
the Kureen, the Kurstia, and the Kurla. Are how many K's can we put into this? Yeah. And then we move on to chapter 3, where this one's a nice, like, concise chapter because Kenton's going to meet the Lord General, Lord Rajent, we learn about the deep sandlings, what they're like. They catch a little Karak so that the Lord General can kill it, and the Lord General is he basically wants the Sandmaster's prestige. That's his plan, and so he doesn't want to help. But then a larger Karak attacks, Mommy Karak, and Kenton is pretty cool and fighting that Karak and saves Lord Rajent. And then they negotiate a deal for Rajent's vote, getting they'll basically give some Sandmasters to Lord Rajent for that. And then we end with Kenton attacked with another assassin, but that's more in next chapter where we see that.
So one comment I do want to make is the design of the Sandlings, because it really, this is my expectation was that they were more insectoid in appearance, and they're very much not insect-like. They're just like generic scary
Wizard
monsters.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The Karak kind of had a interesting design, but like the Sandlings itself, we didn't.
Yeah.
The problem with the art style of this, because there is an art style change later, which we'll talk about, is it's sometimes just really hard to tell what is what. I feel
what's going on. Yeah.
And with the Sandlings, it was really hard to tell because the line work is pretty muddy and very thin.
One thing I did like is that when Lord Rajent is killing the baby Karak, it does look like the ichor gas of the Sandling is like acting like a gas, like shooting out.
Yeah,
but
I mean, yeah.
Then at other points, it looks like this Sandling has blood.
Yeah, it's
spurting out of it.
It's like bursting out of him in a jet, and also just sitting on him like it's blood too, like it's spattered on the skin. So I'm like, which is it?
Yeah.
Well, it just solidifies really fast. I mean, I don't see what the problem is there.
There could be a residue, maybe.
Yeah, it's like that. The residue, I don't really care because like
it's not as obvious as the saliva in Volume 1.
Yeah, but
But
at
there's
some
still saliva, though. Don't worry.
yeah, there's still like red saliva and stuff, which like
Yeah. I guess one thing that confused me is that it was not adequately explained what the tower is. I guess it's where the troops are.
the tower is the military profession.
That's like
It's like
it's like saying like the
DM,
White
the
House.
hall,
You know what I mean?
The DM, the hall. That's the name of the profession.
Yeah, that's just not made clear in this.
Oh,
Really.
it's not.
In
No.
the graphic novel, no.
Yeah, that's why
It's
I was
made more
confused.
clear.
They're just like mentioning, "Oh, we're going to the tower." Like, what? Okay.
Like which tower? Does it have a name? You know.
Well,
yeah.
like it
Yeah,
really.
it's like the DM, the tower, the hall, the helm, the guild, the
right.
field. They're
Right.
all the blank.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's really not clear at all here.
Yeah, and I always kind of in this felt like Regent or Regent, whatever his name is. I felt, and this is true in the prose too, that he just kind of flip sides really quick. Like I saw him as one of Kenton's main like people he had to sell.
In the prose, it took
And-
a long time for us to get to the Lord
Yeah.
General. Like there were like multiple chapters where
Mhm.
before we actually got to the Lord General. So we
Yeah.
got here pretty fast.
Yeah,
in
and it
the
just
prose or in the graphic novel.
Yeah, and I just like didn't get any sense even that like if they'd even like made like left a little bit of ambiguity where like Kenton is like, man, I think I got his vote, but you know he could be double crossing me or something because it just felt very easy. Where you know, like it was impressive, but I just never been a fan of how quickly Regent switches sides.
It kind of worked for me because it was kind of dire straits, and seeing it visually how dire it was kind of worked for me. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, I just think that like I'm surprised his reaction wasn't also like, oh man, now I really want these guys to be mine. You know what I mean? Like now I've seen what they can do, and now I'm more excited about running the DM myself. You know?
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. That's a pretty good point because it does feel like he didn't really know their extensive capabilities, really.
Just like Chris. Yeah.
just like Chris. One thing I want to mention, which is important, they explicitly say here, the sandlings come to the surface to feed, and after they digest the sand, it loses its properties until it can be recharged by the sun. Very
Which-
common knowledge.
That's
That
yes.
sentence isn't even true. You know what I mean, though? Like, that's not actually the way it's supposed to work.
No, it's they eat the lichen on the sand.
Well, right.
The lichen has to regrow.
Mhm.
But
Well, they don't. Yeah, right. Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
but I'm actually like this is just a commonly known thing on Dayside. To me it makes sense that they don't talk about it because it's just like if you like at the historical record, it like ancient Egypt had a trading partner in like the land of Push or something that like they have all these records of like trading with this place. We have no idea where it is because
Mhm.
no one ever thought to write that down because it's like, oh, everyone knows where that is.
All right.
Mhm.
Or like salt and pepper shakers. If you go back a certain amount of time, like there's 3 of them. We have no idea what's in the 3rd one because no one ever wrote it down because everyone knew it.
Huh.
Sure.
I hadn't heard that one before.
Yeah. It's just as we'll see with Chris. Chris will do some science and wonder, how does sand mastery work? And the answer is it's recharged by the sun. We know this right here. There's lichen involved too, but we get it literally right here
Mhm.
to the reader.
The reader knows.
Yeah, which is just kind of annoying. That we get there. Well, let's go on to chapter 4. So chapter 4, Kenton kills the assassin. It didn't really seem too difficult for him.
No.
That's why I don't get any tension from the repeated assassin attacks
It
because
really
there's never
doesn't
been a
feel like
consequence. Like it's just
No.
like, oh, they're still doing it. You know.
Yeah, it almost just feels like busy work because we gotta have an action scene, so I guess we'll put in some assassins right here, and we'll leave a day and a half just so we can do some other stuff in between that. You know?
It's a very convenient like repeated action moment.
Yeah, it really.
Which
is.
that's not really a criticism of the graphic novel because that's
No,
how
that's
it
more
worked
of-
in the
Brandon's plot structure.
yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I agree, Ian, and I have an issue with that too. and that assassin has Turkin oil on their stuff too. Kenton goes back to the DM, and Dryle's being a jerk and raising tensions, and so Kenton challenges Dryle to a duel. And everyone's like, "Oh man, Kenton, you're gonna get wrecked." Because they kind of discuss how ribbons work. They also discuss overmastery, which is pretty interesting.
Good they reminded us that that's a thing, at the very least.
Yeah.
And it also
'Cause it's
looks like
pretty
Kenton
important.
is figuring out that, if you overmaster, you get more powerful.
Yeah.
They seem to have dropped the random, hey, my dad gave me my powers thing from Volume 1. I thought that was going to have more
we
screen
totally
time,
forgot that. That was
but that has not
I
been
think
mentioned
that
since.
it's more that Kenton is actually thinking about it in a logical way as opposed to freaking out about what just happened to him.
Yeah,
I guess.
I just like when
you're
they
right.
mentioned, and if he'd been I don't know, I don't think my dad could have given my powers. Maybe it was, just addressing that he's changing his mind
It's
on that
just
initial
like
thought that he
It's
had.
just like a total drop thing.
Yeah.
Which we dropped that 2 pages after that happened anyway in Volume 1,
yeah.
so
It's for the best.
yeah. Ice does tracked stuff. Wow, cool. It's fine.
It's a nice characterization thing.
Yeah.
We see that she's more than just angry person that
that's
doesn't
important.
like
In
things.
Volume 2, she's just kind of been angry at Sandmasters, so that's true. You're correct. Kenton meets with the Lord Merchant, Lord Vey, who's also Kirstian, so...
He's Kareen.
Kareen. Yes. And really does not like Kenton at all. And Vey attacks Ice for, you're protecting the Sandmaster, and how dare you do this, your soul's in peril. And Kenton defends Ice, which later Ice will admonish him for. It seems kind of weird to me, personally, that Lord Vey would just be so angry that Ice is doing her job, because it's her job. Lasan's all about, the professions, and that seems important. But
Lord Vey hates Sandmasters too.
Yeah, right. Then we get an invitation from Delius inviting Kenton to a ball. Because we are in Mistborn, actually. But we gotta have the ball scene, because that's how partying happens in all
And
Brandon
Keep
books.
Venture, and they're just like,
Keep Venture.
this
Yes.
is weird.
Yeah. And then they're still. They also realize that the other professions do give some tribute money to the DM, and so they're gonna.
I
search for
believe
the
it's
tribute money.
that's traditionally they did, but it's only the Lord, the guild that still does it. The merchants.
Oh, okay. That
Or that's the
seems-
way it was in the prose.
That
I'm
seems-
pretty sure that's how it is in the graphic novel.
That's if the Lord Merchant hated them so much, why would he still give them tribute money?
That's the
Interesting
big
question for Volume 3, Eric.
Oh, great, cool, great.
This is
cool.
totally explained in the prose.
Great.
It
cool.
actually is, yeah.
I didn't reread the prose for this, so I'm coming at the graphic novel from a fresh slate here, mostly. Yeah, and that's what we get in chapter 4. I like that we're talking about. There's a part where Kenton's like, "Oh, I could change the DM's charter to do this." I'm like, "Oh, wow, riveting." This is my favorite part, talking about the charters.
But it makes sense with the culture.
This is not your type of story, Eric.
I'm
Yeah.
just thinking about why the Star Wars prequels are bad, and it's politicking for the sake of politicking. That's the problem.
I
Right?
think there are other issues with.
Well, there certainly are, but it's not like the differences between the Trade Federation and things are really exciting, and you really want to see those resolved, and that's about my level here.
See,
you know?
The politicking is an issue in the prequel trilogy because the original trilogy is nothing like that.
Yeah.
This was meant to be a politicking book.
And
Right, and the
I
beginning
can't
doesn't
get
have that at
that
all,
complaint.
and so I still think that's an issue because we're just getting the middle, all politics, mo politics all
Yeah.
the time. So
But Brandon's going to write the story that Brandon wants to write. Brandon wants to write a politicking book.
right.
when he rewrites the prose version. Still throwing that out there.
I mean, we've seen him do politicking better, and so I think we can criticize. He
This
can
is-
write a
this is
politicking
older
book,
stuff,
and then,
though.
I know.
Oh, they tried to do
I
it.
know. I know.
I mean, like for the viewers, for like the listeners, like this is an older story of Brendan, so we're gonna see some more of those idiosyncrasies that
Maybe it needed more revision time, is what I'd say to that,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it doesn't really feel like we changed from the prose at all. And indeed, we lose a lot of the good stuff with the prose, with
Yeah.
viewpoints. And
I
the
think
cultural
you just
development.
fundamentally don't like the book, whereas this
Yeah,
is a plot
that's true.
structure that I do enjoy. So
Okay.
it's not an issue with the book.
Well, I mean, sure, but I have had things where I really enjoy the politicking and I enjoy political intrigue in general, and I just think this one was not good. So in that context, I think it's totally fair for me to criticize that, especially when we just get a random like, yes, the DM charter. Cool. Yeah, you're right, Ian. That yeah, it's possible I just don't like this book, and it's just my opinions there. But I don't know. Like the beginning didn't promise a politicking story. Like that's the thing. It didn't. It did not do that, and we got one anyway. And I did not find it to be super compelling. I'm also confused as to why, like, the history of Lysand. And I don't know if we got a lot of that in the first place, because it just feels like such a melting pot that it doesn't really feel super distinct to me.
yeah, I
Right.
agree.
Right?
No, I agree. That's what, like, when I was saying like it's a mixture of Darkside, Kirstian and Lawsand, I was thinking to myself, like, actually though, what is the Lawsand
what
culture
is the
aside
Lysand
from the
culture?
Sandmaster?
Right.
Yeah.
It's the only part, and that seems so minor now that we're like seeing things like the Sandmasters weren't really a big part of the Lysand culture, because practically they just hid to themselves, right?
Yeah,
For
no one knew what they
centuries.
could do. Yeah.
So it's really not clear what makes Lysand a country, and why don't the Kirstians just invade Lysand? Because there seems to be plenty of Kareen there in Lysand,
If I recall correctly, and I don't, this might be in the graphic novel. I don't want to keep saying that things aren't in there that are in there, but
Okay.
that, like, the leader of the Kirstia, what's the name of their
Kirstia.
country?
Kirstia.
Kirstia. Okay,
Yeah.
there we go. Is chosen every 3 years, and it's one of like their 3 branches: the
Well-
priests, merchants, and warriors. Or Daikeen. That's what the
Okay.
term is.
Okay.
And
Okay.
they keep picking the high merchant. The Akar, the high priest, has not been
Okay.
chosen in forever.
Right,
and the
right,
merchant,
right. They do mention that this Akar wants to win the choosing. It's a very interesting, I will say, Dayside cultural thing.
we should go to Kirstia.
No, very much like, they're not like kings and queens on Dayside.
Mhm.
It's voting by what is your profession, and different professions get different times to rule. We don't quite get that in Lysand, because it feels like it's just like an oligarchy type thing through the
Yeah.
professions.
I
Right.
think so.
Like it's not like, I am the ultimate ruler, right? But that does make sense that maybe all these cultures are doing that sort of style of thing, which I kind of like there. I
Yeah,
will
but
say.
And I think it is mentioned in the graphic novel that if the High Priest had continued to win the choosing, like, Lawsand probably wouldn't exist.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Yeah, it
It's
definitely
because-
makes sense, the Lord Merchant. Yeah,
The Lord
that was when
Merchant
their
wants
conflict
trade.
ended. Yeah.
right.
That when the first Lord Merchant, or High Merchant, not Lord Merchant,
Oh,
different
sorry,
thing,
sorry. Right. Sorry.
won the choosing. That is when I was just Because it is kind of similar, though.
It's pretty similar.
That was when the war stopped for the first time with the Sandmasters, and that's when the Sandmasters.
And they did mention this. That's when
the Sandmasters got a little lazier and stopped helping Lost Sand in like the piece that has followed.
This is starting to make sense, and I'm feeling more okay with this now.
There's some coherence in here if you look closely enough and read the prose.
You gotta look really closely away from those ceiling fans, but at least there's no radios, because radios doesn't make sense for any technological level in this.
And one thing I was just thinking of, actually, like looking at what we talked about Ice and her work as a tract, is does anyone else feel like there's not a lot of tension or like concern with her hunt for Lomaclen? Like, I feel like that is something they're referencing.
Sherazon?
No, Lomaclen is what I recall.
No, it's Sherazon.
Then who's Lomaclen?
I don't recognize that at all.
Lochlan?
I just
that
read
is
it
definitely a name used in this book.
Yeah, I just read it in the graphic novel a moment ago.
No,
in Ice's dialogue in this chapter, she's looking for Lomaclen. Lomaclen is the guy that they found that's going to lead them to Sherazan. That's my bad. But they haven't. Are they hunting for Nilto or are they hunting for Sherazan?
They're hunting for Sherazan.
Ice thinks that Nilto is Sherazan.
Yes.
They didn't say the name Sherazan?
Yeah, they did. They did in this.
Where?
Somewhere.
They're talking about Nilto. They're talking about Nilto. And they're like, Lomaclen's going to flip. Nilto's getting desperate.
Because Ice is positive that Nilto is Sherazan.
But they're not even talking about Sherazan as a distinct individual. So the twist that Sherazan is somebody else is not really going to be very clear. You know what I mean? Like, it's not they're like, I'm so sure I can prove that Sherazan is Nilto. They're just like, Nilto.
I feel like that might be covered in part 1, volume 1.
Lochlan. All right.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that, like, for people who are coming in and reading this a year later and maybe like skim the first one to remember what's going on or just read the summary from the first one in the front of this, I feel like that twist is going to lose some impact.
I don't think it's
especially when it doesn't have a lot. Or like, I just don't. Does anyone care about that plot line? Was like what I was going to discuss. You know,
I mean, not really. Let's be real.
Not
are they giving it any of its time?
Not really.
It was like nice to see Ice in her element where she's not super angry all the time.
Yeah, because like when she's around Kenton, it gets very one note, super one note, which like makes sense, and it's nice when Ice like defends Kenton later, so that's cool. I like that she's choosing her job. Like it is an interesting conflict, but it does seem pretty one note a lot of the time. I do see Lomaclen. I don't remember who that was.
He was the guy that they captured in the first one. That was one of Sherazan's like lieutenants. And they're thinking they're gonna get him like a plea deal or something. I don't know if they have plea deals, but they got radios, so maybe.
We're just sick burns. That radio does deserve it though. Let's be real here. Great. I'm thrilled for all these plot reveals that are going to happen in Volume 3. They're going to be very well developed.
This is a lot of Brandon's early secret identity stuff as well. You know, if you look at it, like there's a lot of mistaken or like assumed identities going on.
It's like the core concept is not. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. All right, now we're on to party politics. Kenton is attacked by assassins again in the Darksider Quarter. Whoa. And it is a pretty cool fight scene. Bayon shoots someone, stabs someone. Ice protects Kenton, kind of, but Kenton doesn't really know what she's doing because, like, she hates him. But they fight that off. Kenton and Ice discuss that the Lasandon are joining Christian families if they serve the Akar, which is a pretty big deal because usually it was only Kirstians. So
now their souls don't have to wander the deep sand forever, or the Kurla, unable to find peace. That's good for them.
Yep.
Like specifically, like if they serve the Akar, which is growing his power base because he wants to win the choosing.
Right. Right.
He feels like someone very important who does not get treated like he's very important.
Right. Then Kenton and Chris have a nice heart-to-heart about Kenton's past and stuff. So that's nice. We see them scouring the DM for Locke, and they find Locke. Yep, that's what happens.
Some
they're
lock, but not a
looking-
lot of lock.
Yeah,
They're looking for the tribute money.
Yeah.
Oh, we get. Ice sends her family away, so
Mhm.
she says they should exit Kezare, because that Sherazon plot line is very riveting, and very dangerous. But I like all the scenes with Ice and her family. I do like all those scenes. Those are important scenes for her.
Yeah, for her being anyone that's not just I hate Sand Mastery, I am Kareen.
Right.
Yeah.
We get some character development from Arik, having a conversation about himself and the past, on why he left in the first place, which is basically Kenton, I guess. Is that what that's supposed to imply? I think.
Yeah, it's because of Kenton, but he doesn't come out and explain exactly what it has to do with Kenton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Kenton, but
It was Kenton's fault.
Yeah.
But Kenton doesn't know that.
Right. But Arik does decide to stay with Kenton. We get to see Chris doing lab work, which is cool.
Yes.
That was good. So thankfully we got that. We didn't get any flashbacks from that initial time.
We did not.
David.
Nope.
But I did say it didn't really seem necessary, but I did like all the lab work and stuff. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it makes her feel like the woman who is going to write the Ars Arcanum. Like when she's doing this, which is good that's in there somewhere.
Yes, indeed. I agree. And then it ends where they're at Delius's ball. Oh, wait. They also talk about Skathen as well, the dynastic leader.
You mean Wern? No.
You mean other god emperor? Okay, right. We can see some tropes occurring in Brandon's work. And then they go to Delius's party, and Delius is very drunk, but announces support for the DM, which is nice.
Yes.
So, thinking about what's going on, this new Akar apparently is said to have, quote, strange ideas. And I'm just wondering why that is, because, we don't really know, right? Why he would do that, but I have the feeling that maybe he's, like, somehow not Kirstian, or maybe, like, some weird off-worlder, and, like, so he's more accepting of, like, these methods of doing it. Or maybe he just really wants power.
Or perhaps the Sandlord is speaking to him.
Oh, right. Oh, did you see there's a part where Ice says Sunlord in her conversation with her family?
I guess she's not as devout as we thought.
Yeah. Well, they do say the sun is a manifestation of the Sandlord in the first volume, but that does seem like an error.
Yeah, it does. With Skathen, I want to know. I wasn't expecting a visual representation of this person.
Me neither.
I want to know why he looks like he's in the Old West and he's General Custer. Personally, I don't know. It's not the art style that I got ever.
Yeah.
I don't know what image I had of him, of a god emperor, but Old Western General Custer was not what I was thinking.
Yeah, I remember like reading that page. I looked at it and I was like, "Wait, who is this dude?" And I was like, looking at him, I'm like, "Oh,
no, that's supposed to be Skathen. That's supposed to be Skathen."
And that feels like one of those things where you're like, okay, like the artist is like working stuff out, and he's like, okay, this God Emperor, when eventually he appears on screen, it's happened to be it's gonna have to look really cool. That's a problem for later, though. And now they've pulled him in, canonized his appearance. I guess the art style changed, so it doesn't matter anymore. But I was like, why would you do that right now?
Still be wearing
like,
the same
why
clothes,
is that
generally, though, right?
Maybe. Or maybe he'll be in a robe.
He's a god emperor. Like, he doesn't have one outfit. Like,
no, definitely not. Definitely not. I don't know. It seemed like a very interesting design choice cool.
Yeah,
like, what did you guys think of that?
It fit my expectations.
Right?
Either.
Like, it just feels so random.
But
it
was an interesting choice. Like,
I will say it is. I'm just imagining General Custer as a god emperor, and that's kind of cool, actually. like as a character idea, but I mean, we don't really get any.
He also doesn't look like he's in his mid-20s.
No, not at all.
I know.
Like late 30s, early 40s, easy.
If it would just be internally consistent, I would lose like 50% of my complaints.
Internally
that was why
consistent.
I love Brandon's stuff, because it like makes sense together.
David,
I'm just like,
look at with where Skathan appears. It's consistent within the same panel. In the same panel, they mentioned that he's in his mid-20s. In the same one where Skathan appears. But, you know.
It's all those extra lines they put in. It makes them ages you know.
There's a line where Chris says, like, Sand Mastery, it could be just what we need. And it really isn't clear why Chris had that, because it felt very unprompted in this.
What
were they talking about?
Yeah.
What were they talking about? It's before she does science, I think. Let me look. This will all be cut out.
I'm looking at
Yes,
it.
so it's right after they find a bunch of lock in the DM, and Kenton's wondering, where's the rest of the tribute money gone? And then we get a break. They're on a ship, and Bayon says, it appears that the DM has quite a few holes it needs to dig itself out of, Duchess. It could be a lost cause. And Chris says, but Sand Mastery isn't Bayon, and it could be just what we need. Like, it feels kind of random.
No, because it's helping the Sandmasters is not a lost cause.
No, I understand that. It's more the thing where, going back to what David said about Chris doesn't know the extent of how useful Sand Mastery would be, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, she's seen Kenton lift people up and down. She hasn't even seen him do the building thing yet. Like, there's not really.
That's true, right? That line, because we got a specific seam break for that line, it didn't really gel with me personally. But
and it feels like an abrupt, like a little bit of like a not the way people talk to me at the very least. Like, you know, it didn't sound like a natural line.
Right.
I can definitely see that.
Right. It's just like, Sandmasters are important to my plan, and I need to mention this in this panel that we have. And then we get to chapter 6, which, let's talk about the immediate thing you realize in chapter 6.
Yeah.
It looks totally different.
It's completely different. I mean, you do recognize who's who, but we have a different artist here who believes in strong line work, and so you can tell exactly who everything is. But,
Okay,
what do you think?
People are probably wondering, like, is this permanent? Is this forever? Or is this just one change? The good thing is that they haven't said anything. We have no idea whether or not this is how the art's going to look forever, or if it's just like a one-off, or why it happened, or anything. So, guess we'll find out in 2 years.
What do you guys think of the art style? Because we should probably just do that.
I think that they may have overcorrected a little.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because
I tend to agree.
While I do greatly prefer the new art style over the old art style, it is lacking in a little detail. There could be a little bit more detail.
The other ones,
I like the strong like line work. Like, it's very crisp and clean.
Yeah.
That I like.
Yeah. I like in the part where Chris does science in the last chapter, there is a lot of detail in all the line work. It is harder to tell what's what, admittedly. Like, that's always been a consistent issue. But yeah, the different art style is very jarring. I think Kenton's the most jarring. I think I like him the least. Everyone else, like Ice, looks awesome. I think looks better.
Chris looks cool.
Chris looks cool, but Kenton is just like, whoa. That was kind of my thought. Generally, I preferred it, but man, it's jarring. It's more jarring because chapter 5 ends with them at a party, and then they're still at the party.
Yeah.
Right? That if it was like chapter 3 where we're going somewhere totally different, right? Then that would feel maybe less jarring to me, or maybe more jarring in another respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a big fan of internal consistency. So the fact that they changed artists midway through was not my favorite thing. I like this art style better. I think if this is what we'd gotten from the very beginning, I would I would, and we'd switch to the other art style, I'd be very angry and upset. But I agree with Ian. I think there could be like a little more detail. They could have found like a little bit more of a common ground. But all in all, like it better. I enjoy that they have discrete ribbons of sand in scenes that Kenton is using. I like the way Sand Mastery is portrayed a lot more clearly, which is cool.
Okay.
But yeah. I wanted an explanation why, though.
Yeah.
It would
Which
really
maybe
be
not
nice
be
to
a
have
thing.
a statement just to see, do they know what's going to happen in Volume 3? Are we going to get Volume 3's cover and not be consistent at all with the other ones? Because the other ones are by the other artist, right?
They could change panel to panel. That'd be kind of fun. You're just like, oh my god.
No, that would not be fun.
No. I could see them still using the original artist for the cover and then doing the new artist as the interior.
That would be that'd be even almost weirder, you know, but then you're just like, this cover looks entirely different, you know? I'd almost prefer them just be honest about what it's gonna be.
It's a bad situation regardless. I guess time issues that they needed
maybe
a second
Who
artist.
knows?
I don't know. Who knows?
It's a situation that an already moderately marginal at best graphic novel did not need another thing on its plate to make things more complex, in my opinion.
A lot of people were like, whoa, this art change.
I think there will be a good reason, otherwise it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I'm sure. And
I'm hoping.
Honestly would prefer to get Volume 3 out faster than this break. So if this is a way to help that, then I think that's ultimately better.
Yes.
Agreed.
Okay, let's talk about what happened in there. But we that was right.
We had to.
It's the first thing you see. Kenton and Chris are trying to discuss Sand Mastery, and Kenton is being very coy about it. And Chris is annoyed that she can't just talk in Lasandon to other people. So even though the knowledge that the power comes from the sun, ultimately, Chris doesn't know that because she can't speak Lasandon. I agree that does make sense. That if Kenton's her link to everyone else, and if Kenton
she's gotten a tease too, but she's got a less prominent role in this. So
it's also like, I don't think it would even occur to Kenton to mention that, and Chris just has no clue, so she's not asking the right question.
Yeah,
that
it is kind of like
him to realize, like, oh yeah, it's charged by the sun, like, duh.
I guess just from a story perspective, it's just annoying to have characters struggle on information that was so nonchalantly given earlier. You know, that's kind of weird. It's like, what's the deepness? At least we got a scene where, oh yeah, it's this thing that we didn't quite expect, or something like that, rather than in like chapter 2, we say, oh yeah, the deepness is this, right? It feels different to me.
It can be done well when the audience knows something that the characters don't know. Like, it can create tension, but I don't think this is an instance where it was done incredibly well.
I feel like
I don't think it was done horribly.
Yeah,
it's
no,
not
I'm just not blown away.
At least I can say that I understand Chris's motivation. I can kind of understand Kenton not explaining it. Like, I get those motivations, so it's not a huge deal, but it is slightly annoying. I think, David, situations where I really like when the reader has info that characters don't, it's when there's like opposing viewpoints. I think that's really compelling. Like, this character, like Hrathen, knows things that
Serene doesn't
know. And that's like really interesting, and it totally makes sense. Yeah, right.
When Chris and Kenton are supposedly on the same team and they're not sharing information, that gets to some Wheel of Time level of frustration where you're like, talk to each other.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Something weird's going on with Delius that they notice.
Yeah, like he has a conversation with the two of them, and he lets the way he's acting, Chris picks up on it. It is like,
yeah,
there's more going on with him than just a drunk guy.
Yeah, which is good. Then they leave the ball in a horse carriage. Horses. They're on Dayside.
There's no excuse for this.
To be honest, I'm pretty upset about the horse. Yeah. Honestly.
Is it more than just the one panel?
No,
It's
I
just
think it's
it's
that
just one panel.
I do think this is an error but it makes sense that it didn't get picked up. Like,
Yeah.
I
But they're
completely missed this. So it's
I mean, it is just one panel, but it's like when you notice that there's a radio in the Kurla, like that shapes your opinion of this,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. And I mean, and like there are tonks in chapter 4. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's not like there aren't any else in this. Like,
the only
someone
thing
who's
the only thing
someone
I
who's
can
putting
think
this
of,
together.
it's that the new artist wasn't like super like didn't know
On the
that,
same page.
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? Like that's the only thing I can figure just wasn't noticed. The fact that it's a carriage just makes it feel more European and less like there's any Lysandan culture at all, right?
Mhm.
but like carriages
You'd still
Makes
have
sense.
carriages.
Like,
it,
yeah.
it does. It just looks very
It's
Victorian.
a horse-drawn carriage, though.
It
Yeah.
looks very Victorian, which I feel like in this completely different world should look a little less Victorian. I don't know. Then we see the scene that you mentioned in our last podcast, David, where Kenton saves the workers, raises the building up, helps with Sandmasters, and makes it makes a sensible change for the Sandmasters to help the Lysandan, and meets a craftsman named Trell.
No relation.
We'll talk about that in a sec. And then that's like Kenton's last scene. Then we get Chris doing more science, and Chris confronts Bayon about his pistols, which wouldn't they have talked about this before? Like if
Or,
he
like, seen them
suddenly got
before?
more
Yeah.
pistols? I don't know.
I don't
But he reveals that he is from the dynasty and then just skedaddles out of there. Just as soon as he reveals that information. And they wonder why he did this, why he didn't kill Chris this whole time, right?
I guess.
That's what they're wondering. Why
What was his motivation again to be following them?
I don't know.
it's
man.
not made clear yet in the graphic novel.
I mean, if we see how Volume 1 ended, we immediately got the fallout of it in Volume 2 with that ending. So I would expect that we would get more of that. So I don't have an issue with that, but I do need some splaining for sure. And then Chris decides to become a Sandmaster, and that's how
Good call.
this ends.
Yeah.
Which is totally in character for her, kind of. She is
I don't hate
an
that she wants
arrogant
to
noble
do
of
it.
that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. All right, we got to talk about Trell. Number one thing we got to talk about here, other than the art. Let's talk about Trell.
What is that?
It's a great question.
So, like, he was named Trell in the prose version. And the fact that it was not changed for this means there's something going on here.
Yeah, right? Like, there's no way that's a coincidence. No way.
Because until this point, it literally was my belief that Brandon had simply recycled a name he liked. Like, I really didn't think there was more to look at here. And now I'm like, maybe there's something going on.
Especially because, like, we read the prose before Alloy, right?
Yeah.
And so that when you think, oh, Mistborn religion, like it's just like an Aeon Ati and Ati. Like those don't need to be related. But when you're on the planet suspected of tampering with stuff on Scadrial, there's a person named Trell. Someone would notice, hey, do you mean this to be the case? And Brandon would be like, yeah, that's what I want. He's Trell.
Yeah. But like going back to the Ati, Aeon Ati thing, it's like that's because he was named a character after a real life person, and that's literally the only Aeon in her name. So it's like he had to use that.
Hands were tied.
Right. And then there's Adium, so
Yeah.
Or Atium, sorry. I don't see how this Trell is relevant to anything. So if it's right.
Any ideas from anyone about, like, I've heard people talk about maybe like he is like the holder of the avatar that is like I've just like heard like people spitballing. But
I've also seen the idea that autonomy has to model their personality after someone, and just said,
Yeah.
notice that, like, hey, there's this ancient religion who has the same name as this, like, guy that lived, like, 200 years ago. I'm going to model this avatar's personality after him.
It
Yeah.
just...
It's weird, though.
It's super...
Yeah.
I would be more okay if Trell was not an ancient Scadrian religion and she just modeled it after a dude. Or
Yeah.
one thought I had maybe is that the avatar has to, like, attach to an intelligence, right? Like, she can't just split herself, because maybe that would, like, wound her too much, right? So maybe she took Trell and attached that to that or something, but then...
But why him?
Why him, and why is there an ancient religion on Scadrial named that too? Like...
And here's the other interesting thing, is do you guys remember, like, the theology of at least the original Trelligism?
Yes,
Before-
Trell was, like, the god of stars.
I've got the quote right here.
Okay.
Yeah, here, like, listen to this, because it sounds very Taldani.
Okay, all right.
And I will not narrate as well as Alex does for everyone, but
no one does.
bear with me.
Quick, let's call her so she can just
call
narrate
her
this
in.
one part.
Great.
Yeah. It is called Trelligism, after the god Trell. Trell was worshipped by a group known as the Nelizon, a people who lived far to the north. In their land, the day and night cycle was very odd. During some months of the year, it was dark for most of the day. During the summer, however, it grew dark for a few hours at a time. The Nelizon believed that there was beauty in the darkness and that daylight was more profane. They saw the stars as 1,000 eyes of Trell watching them. The sun was the single jealous eye of Trell's brother, Nalt. Since Nalt only had one eye, he made it blaze brightly to outshine his brother. The Nelizon, however, were not impressed and preferred to worship the quiet Trell, who watched over them even when Nalt obscured the sky. So it sounds like related to Taldane.
Also,
almost.
Nelizon? Doesn't that kind of sound like some Dayside naming schemes here? Kezare, Sherazon.
It doesn't sound, yeah. I mean, like,
If
No,
I
you
would not
put
be
Nelizon
surprised.
into this, it would really fit, right?
I wouldn't be like, oh, that's a really random word to throw. Yeah.
No, it doesn't quite match. So, all right, so if that's the case, if there's Taldani stuff for Trell, that brings up other questions, like how this avatar on Scadrial was there for forever and didn't really impact things until Era 2, right?
Yeah, and like there's no splinters on Scadrial, so it's not like, you know, like, I don't know what an avatar is, if it's counted as a splinter or not, but there
Well,
wasn't. So
right, and if
It definitely feels like Trell is a recent development on Scadrial.
it has
Yeah.
to, right? Because since the
yeah.
Catacender, right?
Mhm.
Right.
I think it must be.
It must be.
Because, like, the Sazed is like, I am protecting you from this thing. I don't feel like Ruin or Preservation were doing a lot of protecting. You know what I mean? Like, they
No.
were either
They
dead
had,
or trapped.
yeah, they had other things to do.
Yeah.
Especially because we've seen people ascend and they're like, hey, this red mist, that's kind of a problem, but back to fight and ruin, you know?
Yeah. And the other weird thing is like, the modern version of Trellism that's in Alloy
mhm.
does not have any of this day-night stuff at all.
No,
Even though it's
no.
directly related to, at
It's
least
true.
what we've seen on screen, to an aspect of autonomy. Avatar of autonomy.
Hey. And the other thing is that if this dude Trell, what if this dude Trell world hopped to the olden days of Scadrial? That means White Sand happens way back, which
Yeah.
Brandon did say that that we would jump back in time in the chronology, and obviously this happens earlier. Happened earlier than Elantris? How much delta
Did
is
it happen
there?
earlier
I
than
don't think we
Elantris, for
have-
sure?
No, I'm asking if it was, because I don't think we
I've
have
heard
that
it
info
is,
at all.
but I don't know myself. I'm sure someone will.
I don't
get
think
the
we have
Wobbot
any
going.
I don't think
I
we have
don't
any
think
information.
he could get early enough, because, like, this is like an ancient religion. Like, it was
Yeah.
ancient when Lord Ruler ascended. I
Yeah.
don't think he could get early enough
You need like
to
at
cause
least,
it.
You need at
But it
least
has to-
1,500 years, right?
It has
Like-
to post-date the shards, though, you know, because then Scadrial wouldn't have been a place. Like, it's not like there's an ancient history like Cell has, you know?
Yeah, but it's still like
yeah.
5,000 years old.
Yeah. Lots of people. There's more than 1,000 years of classical Scadrial, I would say.
I'm assuming. Because there was more than one hero, so there has to have been more than one. You know what I mean? Like, it's every 1,000 years.
Of course.
So
right.
We've had a handful at the very least.
Right, so it's like 6,000 years. So the creation of Scadrial, that's not really a factor, but we don't really know when White Sand is set, and the only thing that I can figure is that Trell actually went to Scadrial somehow.
And maybe made this religion.
I guess.
And they made this religion, and then she used it because it was a person from her planet to like work off of, and she's like, "Oh, that's cool. There's some Taldani people here. Let's."
I don't know.
It defies explanation.
Right? Yeah. It does. That's the only thing that I could think of, other than yes, 3,000 years from now, I will pick your name, which is also this ancient religion. Like, what? Doesn't make any sense. But I don't know. Oh, didn't we hear that Autonomy's closing things off from Taldane more now, right? More in the...
Well, I think...
Or was it in past tense?
As of the the essays that Chris wrote for Arcanum Unbounded, Taldane was cut off.
And it was during Mistborn Era 1 as well, because she made mention of it when talking to Kelsier. So I don't know when the essays were written relative to that, but...
Okay, so that does mean if Trell randomly became a world hopper, at this stage in time, that is a thing that could theoretically happen.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Because Chris has to get off planet too.
Right,
so,
exactly.
You know?
And Hoyt's there.
Yeah, somewhere.
Maybe Trell will become a supporting character in book 2, and then we'll see him get off world and like head to Scadrial. You know? You never know.
I don't know. And maybe just like get some of the day-night stuff kind of got lost in translation on Scadrial, and so it's like, well, you know, it got dark a lot of the time, but it wasn't dark all the time, right? It was long long seasons or something. That's my theory. I don't know. All the other theories seem completely nonsensical. I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're done talking about that. We don't know what else to say there.
Yeah.
We see Darksiders can't manipulate sand, Kenton says.
Makes sense.
Yeah. There's probably some spiritual gene going on there, and they just don't have it.
Yeah, we really don't know a lot about Taldane's like initiation, I guess is the canon term now. Because like they've got something, but like we don't, and it seems maybe vaguely genetic.
It could be like some connection with the sun that when you live there long enough, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Sure.
Maybe.
That you live there long enough, and it's like if you move to Aurelon, like your connection to a place could change, and maybe if you're a Darksider, maybe eventually you could turn into a Sand
I don't
Master.
like your children potentially, like
your children, your children, your children over generations. Yes, 100%, 100%. But maybe some connection with the sun itself is what you need to get Sand Mastery. That'd be the only thing I can think of.
I guess my question, like at the very end of it, when Chris comes running in and she's like, "I'm ready to be a Sandmaster," like, is that going to be a plot point in the next one where she's trying to be that they're introducing? Because that was not really a thing in the prose, if I recall correctly. Or is that just going to be a thing where Kenton goes, "You can't. Here's why," and then they drop it? Because it feels like she's like, "This is my new goal," you know. And then if that goes nowhere, that's kind of a weird spot to end.
Yeah,
the entire graphic novel.
Yeah.
Based on like how this is ending, like I feel like it'll be entertained for a chapter or two.
Maybe they'll at least get discussions on what Sand Mastery actually is, and Kenton will stop being coy, and then we'll look back and say, all right, well, I mean, that's fine that in Volume 2, Chris didn't get her answers, and now we get in Volume 3. You know?
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. But...
Because, like, I do like the point that Kenton made that a master artisan doesn't explain, like, everything. Like, so it makes sense, like, he would keeps that sort of thing
private. Well,
And I mean, they are like an organization of people who were not incredibly public about their powers beforehand as well.
that's true. That is true. Like, they could still see, the Sandlings feast on the sand. They misinterpret. They don't know that there's lichen on it, right?
Mhm. I don't think they do.
No, I doubt they would. They would need microscopes.
Well, Chris was able to procure one, so
Well,
maybe she brought it with her. She had her own equipment. That's my bad.
Yeah,
She's also smart enough she could figure out how to make one.
probably.
Yeah.
They're not
Because like they
that
have
complicated.
telescopes. So it's like she could
Yeah, right.
They have
Right.
telescopes.
I'm pretty
I'm sure
sure
they do. I guess.
I'll
I just don't know. I just
spy
hadn't seen that specifically. I don't know what technology they have. They got
It's-
radio.
It's true. There were also lots of wires when Chris was doing stuff too. But I mean, they could be like gas lines or something because there are a lot of like Bunsen burners or not actual Bunsen burners, but
Maybe
things
it's
like that.
sandling gas powered. It's
No,
flammable this whole
no.
time. They don't need natural gas.
If you know what? If the city was sandling gas powered to make electricity, that would be a cool thing that we should see about Lasand. So we
In
can
volume 3.
so then we can actually understand what Lasand's culture is beyond. There's Taisha, there's Sandmasters. That's about it. Actually,
Yeah.
like that's about it.
We're the same religion as our enemy unless
There's
you're an
tracks.
atheist.
There's
That's the
tracks
whole
too.
thing.
There's tracks too.
They're kind of one with the Taisha though. They're in there with the professions.
like they are a profession. Like they're
Yeah.
the hall.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like we've successfully summed up Lasand's culture. So in volume 1, we had some hopes for volume 2. What things like we hope we see more Chris doing sciencey things. We
Which
got
we got.
that.
Which was
Yeah, we
nice.
got that, which was good. So
Mhm.
how are
Mhm.
your thoughts about Chris going, Ian? Or how are your thoughts about Chris going, David, knowing that you had an issue with her characterization in volume 1 to volume 2?
That's a tough question because part of me still feels like she's a pretty different character from the prose, which there's nothing wrong with. It's just like different, so it's still jarring to me a little bit. I'm liking her more. I'm getting more on the same page with like what she wants and like how she acts in this version of her character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like her a huge amount a lot of the time. She ends up coming across more arrogant when I thought she was a little more like, when she shows up and she's like, I'm gonna be a Sandmaster, but that just could be my bias because it's such a direct contrast from like how I viewed her character from the prose, where she was a little
sure.
nervous, kind of bookish, like that was her whole thing. She was not a big part of the court. She was so she didn't feel like an aristocrat in that. And this, she feels a little bit more like that.
She definitely feels a lot more like an aristocrat. Yeah.
I think, if I remember correctly, there were a lot of comparisons between her and Serene.
Mhm.
So this might be their way to like distinguish the two
Sure.
by
Like,
making
make
her
Chris a
more
little different.
part of the court, like which Serene, she was always kind of
badass.
excluded. Yeah,
She was bad at it.
That is true.
Like,
yeah.
She was
I hadn't
always
thought about
bad
that.
at it and was always the rash one. And so trying to make that a dichotomy where Chris is actually good at talking to, people at court, which was the whole point of her joining Kenton,
Mhm.
right? That
Uh-huh.
she's good
Although-
at that negotiation and
Although
high
that
life
will
stuff.
make later revelations less realistic that we will see in book 3.
We're
Or
gonna
volume
have
3.
so much to talk about with volume 3.
Yeah, that is
can't
really
wait.
my thoughts at the end of it is like book 1 or volume 1 I did not love, but I was like, there's still hope. Volume 2 felt like a lot of the same
Yeah,
and not progressing in the directions that I really wanted to. So I feel like
it's
the
the
window
same.
for me at the end of the day, liking White Sand, has started to close a little more. And like, my preconceptions are going to be hard to get around, but I feel like there's no way I get a volume 3 where I'm like, okay, like there's actually a pretty good resolution. Like,
But Chris
I
at
don't
least
think
did sign.
they're setting it up well enough.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like Chris more now, and Kenton less.
I am hopeful about Volume 3 because I am always hopeful about these sorts of things.
That's good. I'm setting my expectations low, so I hope they'll exceed them. How about that? I want to set my expectations really low because
They should put that on the back cover of the volume 3.
I'll
I
just-
want to set my expectations.
I'll just say, listeners, that I have some issues with the prose ending of White Sand. I have quite a few, and so I'll set my expectations really low. Maybe they'll change something and make like a revelation feel good. But one of our criticisms before is that we didn't really get the culture, and I don't think that was improved here really at all.
No,
Not really.
Well, and Chris has kind of, that's another element for character that I don't think survived the graphic novelization process, is that she had a lot more interest in cultures and was like actively pointing out details in her POV and in her mind, and she's never done that. She's more focused on the actual direct science now, which maybe makes more sense for her character, but does make us lose like the thing she's drawing attention to when she's like, oh, this is how this works. This is the type of clothing that men wear versus the type of clothing women wear,
Yeah.
But
that would be really hard to put in there. So there is a loss to that, because that's that whole getting to know the cultures, and that's kind of what our issue is. An issue with what these Dayside cultures are. Yeah. Any other thoughts about Volume 2? Like, I kind of think more of the same. Didn't really feel dramatically different. It was a lot of politicking. Didn't really take forever, so I liked that it was pretty fast, personally.
it did feel faster than the first one, which is probably good.
Which is interesting that it did feel faster.
Because the first one had more action, I thought. But
the first one did have more action, because the action was probably the weakest part in this one, right?
Yeah.
The repeated assassinations got samey.
Yeah, which is something that like is a big problem with the prose too. Like that was something I did not pick up on until I'm looking at it a second time.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's an early work, and it wasn't heavily revised, and it shows.
Yeah, it wasn't heavily revised, and that's kind of my central issue, that it's the same basically.
Yeah, although honestly I don't really know what Brandon's options are at this point. Like, because Taldane has to be a part of the Cosmere now. Like, there's no. So like we might just have to accept an imperfect adaptation of this world, and that we're never really gonna be too pleased with how it turned out.
We're gonna get bad books eventually. That and not. It's fine if you like White Sand. There are many people that really like White Sand, I'll say.
I don't know. I would say many.
There are definitely people who like really loved the prose. I don't think there's many who really loved. I'm not sure there's many who really loved the graphic novel.
No, that's what I thought you were saying.
Sure,
okay, yeah.
But like I thought the prose was imperfect and had many flaws, and they're not really being fixed. And a lot of people are having like translation issues with the move to a graphic novel. Like, where we kind of lost what we liked about it, maybe. But I mean, even prose books, we're going to get some bad Brandon books, I think.
Yeah.
#calamity.
I like Calamity.
We're going to get books that we personally do not like.
Right. Indeed. And
which that has already happened. Like
that has already happened. That's right. But it's going to be rough when it's a main Stormlight book.
When Stormlight 7 is just drags, and you're like, oh, damn. And Moash is now the flashback character, and you're just like, why are we...
It's not going to be the flashback character.
I'll start that urban legend.
No, stop it. I'll edit it out of the podcast. So, any last thoughts on Volume 2?
I don't think so.
Cool.
Meh.
I mean, it's still meh. It's more of the same. There's an art style change, but midway through, so it's weird.
Yeah, I hope they keep that. That's my last thought, I guess.
Yeah. I do hope they keep the art style change.
Yeah, indeed.
Now that we've said it, it's definitely not going to happen, but...
Yeah. All right, so we're going to end with our new segment, Who's That Cosmere Character? I love that jingle. So, this time I'm going to host it. Ben did the last one. You might need a paper or a notepad file to do these clues. And there's going to be 5 clues. There are no more difficulty levels. It could be anyone in the Cosmere. And so for each clue, you guys get a guess. And then we'll move on to the next clue. So
If we get it, do you tell us or do you just keep going?
I'll tell you,
Okay.
and then I'll tell the
Okay.
audience what the other clues are. Because last time we got the first character in 2 guesses in 2 clues, and the second character in 1 clue. So, and Ben's crap, I gotta make these better.
It will be hard to stump us. We're pretty good at this.
I know. You guys in particular, I know. These are all from Ben. I didn't make these. So,
okay.
All right. Clue 1. This character had to keep a secret for a long time.
Oh, do we guess now?
You can guess. You don't have to guess.
See, it's funny because the only thing that comes to my mind is Kevin from The Office when he's trying to not tell everyone.
Okay,
about
great. Thanks for that guess.
It's probably not Kevin from The Office.
Earth's not in the Cosmere. All right.
Unless it's Reckoners.
All right, next
So
clue.
I'll let you go first if you have a guess.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do you have a guess? Ian?
I do not have a guess.
Okay,
Like that's
I
a
do
pretty
have a
broad
guess.
thing.
Okay, what you got?
go for it.
Tensoon.
No.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, okay. That's a good guess.
Next one. Oh, this next clue refutes Tensoon immediately. This character has a sibling.
Well, now I'm thinking Vin, but I'm like, is there a secret she has to tell? Like that she is a ska in the nobles? It's Vin. There we go. There's my guess.
No.
Okay. My guess is Renarin.
No.
Wow. Okay.
Jeebus made these ones better. These ones are better. Next clue. This character is more commonly known under an alias.
Oh, that should be helpful, honestly.
It gets more clear as you move on.
Hear us like talk about how good we are at this and then not get it at all.
No, we've spruced it up since the last time.
Okay.
I workshopped
Let's see.
these with Jeebus.
An alias.
An alias.
I've got too many character names. Like it's too broad.
You can pick one.
Is it Orsier?
No.
I don't know if you count the Khandra as siblings, but just an idea.
No.
I do not have a guess at this time.
Okay. All right. Ooh. All right. All right. This character is from Scadrial.
Okay. Okay. So at least we're on the Scadrial angle.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes.
Sibling. Does Reen have a nickname? I don't think so. I'm gonna say Reen because I don't remember if he has a nickname, but
no,
it's probably not
he
him.
doesn't have a nickname.
Okay, but he had to keep a secret that Vin was alive and he has a sibling. So
cool.
I had 2 of the 3.
Cool.
We're choking, Ian.
I know.
This is easy. It's just easy, Eric. Are you just like over there like laughing to yourself?
No, I wouldn't say this one is particularly easy.
Okay.
You will hit yourself when you know who the character is.
Yeah. Okay. What's the last clue?
This character.
Oh, I know who it is. I know who it is now. It's Zane.
No.
Damn it!
And you got 2 guesses. So
no, but he was the Watcher. He had to keep a secret
that's
about
a stupid secret
about
with
being
the
on
Watcher.
her
That's
side.
dumb.
He's on schedule.
Okay.
Last clue. This character was spiked. It's not
Zane.
Zane. It's not Zane.
Penrod? No.
Oh. Quentin, the citizen.
Oh, you're right. It's a citizen.
It's
That's
Quellion, but I'll give it to you because
Quentin is citizen.
Yeah, it's not Quentin. Yeah, there.
I do want to point out that all of these clues also apply to
Look,
Zane.
it doesn't matter what you feel it is.
No, there's no feeling. I'm just saying that like in the logic tree diagram.
We didn't have like a uniqueness thing on this. We're thinking of a.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying that
character.
I had a reasonable guess.
Just
kidding. That was a good one.
Do you want to do another one?
that was really fun.
Do you
that
want
was
to do
a
another
solid-
one?
that was
Let's
solid.
do one more.
Sure.
Because I have another
Okay.
one.
Okay.
All right. So this is a new character, guys. If you got Quellion before these
Congrats.
guys did, good job. Comment below, and now we'll just have 40 comments.
Or if you also think
totally
that Zane is a reasonable alternative, comment below.
Please give your angry messages to Overlord Jeebus. All right, next one. This character is part of a secret organization of people.
Oh, probably from Rashar. Okay. Ayatel. Just shot in the dark.
No.
Mr. Suit.
No. This character keeps a lot of secrets.
Okay.
It's like
There's
the
a lot of
same one.
secrets going on here. Yeah, I know, right? I mean, if you're in a secret organization, it's probably predicated
probably
that
do
you
have a
couple
secret.
secrets,
Yeah, I know, that's
but
true. That's
you
true.
never know.
Yeah.
See, all I'm thinking of is Harry Potter now with like the secret
No,
keeper, but whatever.
no. Harry Potter's also not in the Cosmere.
Well, you never know. Brandon's talking about doing a crossover with
No,
something else
no,
already.
Earth's
at
not in the Cosmere.
Emerald City Con.
No.
Okay. I'm thinking though. You got to guess, Ian.
I do not.
Keep secrets in a secret organization. Mraze.
No. This character is a magic user.
Is it Teft?
No.
Tap is a solid guess.
That's
I
pretty
feel
good
like I
guess,
feel
though.
like we're good on the Rashar angle because that's where like all the secret societies apparently live. Try to think if there's someone like in the Skybreakers that would be good. No, I got no guess for this one.
All right. This character is a confirmed murderer.
Is it Shalon?
Yes, it is Shalon.
Oh, really?
Yep, it is Shalon.
Okay, I was like, that's actually pretty clever.
Yeah, that is.
So this is why Ben said there's no more difficulty levels, so we give vague clues for something easy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, she at this point, like...
And the last clue is this character has killed several of their family members.
Oh, okay, that would have narrowed it right down.
Yeah. But you're completely right. Secret organization. Roshar. This
Yeah.
is a pretty safe bet.
It's not... It's like if you're on Cell, it's like, okay, the Eerie, and like that's our thing. I guess maybe Doc Art, but whatever.
Or the set. You got those.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed Who's That Cosmere Character, and I hope you enjoyed our very positive White Sand Volume 2 podcast. And if you have a Who's That Cosmere Character set of clues, send it to Who's That Cosmere Character at gmail.com. I'll put that link in the liner notes, and we'll use them eventually.
It's
We're getting
Was that...
WHOST, not WHOSET.
yes,
Is,
Okay.
yes.
Was that username not already taken?
No. But we have it now. So send those. Please feel free to like, subscribe, follow us on 17shard.com, Twitter, Facebooks, all the stuff. And we'll see you all, well, not for White Sand Volume 3 for a while, I'll tell you that, but we'll have another podcast for you next week.
Bye.
Adios.
Caw. And now, 17 Shard Productions presents The Lord Mastral Has a Request.
Canton! Canton! Get me my boombox! It's very important for the ritual! No way, Dad! I'll never do that! Canton! You never do anything! You never turn on my ceiling fan! You're such a disappointment as a sandmaster!
See you guys next time.